The first part of wiring up the motor involves the wires. So let's have a look. With the wires, what we've got to do is make sure that we prepare the ends first of all. So we pull off the plastic insulation, twist all the strands. Now it might look like, well, they're all very close together, why bother twisting them up? But it's a really, really important step. If you don't twist them up properly, then what happens is they'll all simply come apart as we try to join them to the other parts of our little circuit, and then all these little strands are very weak and gradually break off. So you weaken the wire, it's not going to work properly, you get a poor connection. So you really have to twist, twist, twist. Hold firmly, thumb and finger on the plastic insulation, grip finger and thumb like this, and nip and twist all the way. Work your way along right to the very end, and you mustn't have any bits sticking out anywhere. So even at the very end, if you've got separate little strands which spread out, it prevents you from joining them properly into the back of the motor. These are called the terminals of the motor at the back here. There's a tiny little hole we've got to thread this through. So prepare the wires first. Same process every time. Pull off the insulation, twist the wire up very, very tightly, but when you've finished it should be in a lovely straight line. Straight line. Same for all of them, straight line. There we go. Last one. Nice and tight. If your fingers are sore at the end of it, well, that's fine. There we are. Now we thread the needle. So this is a bit like the thread, and there's the eye of the needle there in the back of the motor. So what we'll do is slot that through, put it about halfway in. What I mean is the bare wire halfway in and halfway out. So it's not in at all there, it's too far in there. We don't want the plastic insulation to touch the metal terminal, so you bring it back out until it's halfway. So now what you do is bend it up into a V shape like that, and it's like sort of catching a fish on a hook. Close up the hook, so close it up really firmly, and now what we've got to do is twist that connection to get a really tight joint to the metal terminal, and that makes a good electrical connection. So the closer in you can get your finger and thumb to that terminal and then twist the motor around, the closer in you can get your finger and thumb, the tighter the connection and the better the electrical connection to the motor. And there it is. So there should be a lovely sort of, I know it's twisted, but there's got to be a sort of a straight line between them. We can't have a great big sort of twisted bent mess there. It's got to be a straight line between the end of the insulation through to the terminal. So straight away, before you go any further, take a sleeve, thread the other end of the wire through the sleeve, pull it all the way through, and now carefully look, we want to try and make sure the sleeve goes completely over the bare wire and the metal terminal of the motor. So there it goes. So you can't see them anymore, and that's nice and tight. Repeat the process. This one's a bit more awkward because the first one gets in the way a bit, but it's making the hook, closing the hook, pinching it tightly, twisting, and that twists up the bare wires. There they are, twisted together. Take the next sleeve. Take your time with this step. I mean, I'm rushing it along here for the purposes of the video, but you take your time with that step. And then, now there's just a little bit there sticking out, just where my fingernail is, so I'm going to smooth that down. So look out for little problems like that. The sleeve goes over the top as before, pushes on firmly. Next step, join together the two sleeves so they come together, and then gradually twist the wires and let the plastic slip through your fingers as you twist the motor, and it twists the wires up. So it's a little bit fiddly that. Twist about halfway back, and that simply stops the wire continually moving about and therefore loosening off the sleeves. So that stops the sleeves from coming back off again. On the other end, look, we've got our 2 wires, and then we will simply push the wire along the sleeve and join it to a metal fastener. So what we do is we push the wire up. That's far too far. We just need the tiniest little bit sticking out. There it is, tiny bit sticking out. Bend it over, and that little bend there, sort of hooking it over, just prevents the wire from going back down the hole and coming out. We take the little fastener and make sure both prongs of the fastener go all the way down the sleeve. Now I'm pushing there and it feels like it doesn't want to go. Well, that's because inside it's bumped into the black plastic. Well, it will go if we just push a bit harder and wiggle it a bit. There it goes. Now you know you've got a really good tight connection, and you can see that there's a tiny bit of bare wire, and that proves that we're making a good contact with the metal paper fastener. So this is a way of connecting the metal fastener and the metal wire so that the electricity can travel into the motor. Repeat for the next one. There it goes. Right. Far too much sticking out there. Bring it all the way back until there's a tiny little bit. Bend it over. Bend it over. Same routine as before. Down goes the paper fastener. Wiggle it a little bit like that, and that one's the same. So now we've got the motor wires joined to the terminals at the back, and these are going to be our battery connections. We're going to give it a quick try. Then simply hold the metal fastener on one end of the battery and touch on the other, and when you do that, and there's the spindle quite happily going round and round. So successfully completed the motor, ready for the next step.